Captain Vera Knox had 3 rules for salvage operations. 1. Never trust a treasure map bought from a drunk Tellurian. 2. Always check the expiration date on ration packs before a long haul. 3. If something looks too good to be true, it probably wants to eat you. The ancient temple on moon designation KX 7749 was definitely breaking Rule 3. I'm telling you, Captain, the structural integrity of this archway is questionable at best, Grix chittered, his 6 insectoid legs clicking nervously against the stone floor. The engineer's antennae twitched with every echo in the vast chamber. Also, I am picking up residual energy signatures that suggest either a power source or a very elaborate death trap noted, Vera said, stepping over what looked like the fossilized remains of something with too many teeth. Her flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating walls covered in alien hieroglyphs. It probably said something important and ominous. Finch, you getting this? Professor Aldrin Finch was already recording everything on his portable scanner. His face lit up with a kind of joy usually reserved for children on Christmas morning or academics proving their colleagues wrong. This is unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. The architectural style suggests this temple predates the Galactic Council by at least 15,000 years. Do you understand what that means? That it's really old, Vera offered. Finch's expression suggested he'd just aged 15,000 years himself. That it belongs to the progenitors. Captain, the mythical precursor race that supposedly seeded civilization across the galaxy before mysteriously vanishing. Most scholars believe they're purely legendary. Most scholars also said this moon was completely dead and worthless, Vera pointed out. Yet here we are, about to get rich or killed, maybe both. A deep rumble echoed through the chamber. Thum, the ship's pilot, squeezed his massive rocky frame through the entrance, ducking under an archway that definitely wasn't designed for 8-foot-tall silicon-based life forms. Found thing, he announced in his usual economical style. The crew followed Thom's, pointing finger to the center of the chamber, where a raised pedestal stood beneath a shaft of light filtering through the cracked ceiling. On the pedestal sat a hammer, not some elaborate jewel-encrusted artifact worthy of ancient legends. Just a hammer. It looked like something you'd buy at a hardware store, assuming hardware stores existed 15,000 years ago. That's it, Vera asked. That's the legendary keystone of Dominion. Finch was already rushing forward. Scanner extended. Don't touch anything. There are proper protocols for first contact with progenitor artifacts. We need to document, analyze, and establish a preservation framework before any physical interaction. Vera ignored him and walked up to the pedestal. The hammer was embedded in the stone, handle pointing upward like some kind of ancient sword in the stone situation. Surrounding it were symbols that glowed faintly with inner light. Even without translation, their meaning seemed pretty clear. Warning, danger, probably don't touch this. The legends say only the worthy can lift the keystone. Finch breathed, his voice taking on the insufferable tone of someone about to lecture. It's said to grant dominion over all spacefaring civilizations, control over ancient technologies, power beyond imagination. Cool, Vera said. Also sounds like a great way to start an intergalactic incident. Grix, can we cut it out of the pedestal? Theoretically, yes, but the energy readings are spiking whenever you get close to it, Grix replied. I'd estimate a 73% chance of catastrophic failure if we attempt forcible removal. I like those odds. I really don't, Grix moaned. Vera reached for the hammer, more curious than cautious. Her fingers were an inch away when Finch practically tackled her. Are you insane? We don't know what it does. We don't know what happens if someone unworthy tries to lift it. We don't even know if it's safe, which is why I'm not trying to lift it, genius. I'm just checking if it's stuck. She pushed Finch aside and wrapped her hand around the handle. She pulled. Nothing happened. The hammer sat there, immovable as the moon itself. Huh? Okay, it's definitely stuck. Thum stepped forward. Try. Knock yourself out, big guy. The massive pilot gripped the hammer with both enormous hands and pulled. His rocky frame groaned with effort. The hammer didn't budge. He released it with a grunt that sounded vaguely disappointed. Fascinating, Finch muttered, already making notes. The locking mechanism must be based on principles beyond our current understanding of physics. This will require extensive study. Or we just leave it and claim the salvage rights to the temple itself, Vera suggested. Sell tours to rich academics who want to poke at mysterious hammers. That's when her communicator chirped. Her first officer's voice crackled through. Captain, we've got incoming ships. Multiple signatures. They're broadcasting Galactic Council authorization codes. Vera sighed. Of course. Someone had tipped off the bureaucrats. She glared at Finch, who suddenly became very interested in a nearby wall carving. You posted about this on Academet, didn't you? Scientific discoveries should be shared with the academic community, Finch said defensively. We're going to have words about operational security, Vera growled. Okay, people, pack it up. Looks like our quiet salvage operation just became a diplomatic nightmare. The Galactic Council arrived with the subtlety of a supernova in a library. 6 ships materialized in orbit around the moon, each representing a different species from the Council's ruling committee. They were the kind of vessels that screamed, "We more important than you," in 17 different languages simultaneously. Vera watched them on the view screen and calculated exactly how screwed she was. They're hailing us, her first officer reported. Of course they are. Vera straightened her jacket, which was still covered in moon dust and probably some kind of alien moss. Put them through. The view screen filled with the floating form of Ambassador Quelix, a bioluminescent jellyfish creature that pulsed with colors Vera was pretty sure didn't exist in normal space. The universal translator kicked in, rendering Quelix's communication bursts into something resembling bureaucratic speech. Captain Knox, this is Ambassador Quelix of the Galactic Council, speaking on behalf of the Coordinating Committee for Ancient Artifact Preservation and Dangerous Technology, Oversight Subsection 7-B, Paragraph 4012, Addendum 9. We are here to assume jurisdiction over the discovered progenitor site pursuant to Galactic Heritage Protection Act. Revision 47, Clause 8, Subclause 3, Amendment 16. Vera blinked. That was one sentence. Galactic law is very precise, Quelix replied, pulsing smugly. The artifact known as the Keystone of Dominion falls under Council purview. You and your crew are hereby ordered to evacuate the site and surrender all claims. Yeah, about that, Vera said, leaning back in her captain's chair with practiced We found it, we documented it, and according to salvage priority rights. Revision 12. We've got first claim. You want it, you go through the proper channels and compensate us accordingly. Quelix's pulsing intensified to what Vera interpreted as annoyed. Captain, you don't understand. The Keystone is not simply an archaeological curiosity. According to legend, it is a weapon of mass destruction created by the progenitors. In the wrong hands, it could destabilize the entire galactic order. Then why have you guys kept it a secret? Vera asked. Because this is the first I'm hearing about any ancient superweapon hammer. The ambassador's color shifted to something that looked embarrassed, if jellyfish could be embarrassed. The Council has been aware of the Keystone's location for approximately 3 centuries. We've maintained security around the site while attempting to determine the proper approach to its containment. You mean you've been trying to figure out how to lift it? Vera said flatly. The silence that followed confirmed her suspicion. The worthiness trials have been, shall we say, inconclusive, Quelix admitted. Every species on the Council has sent champions to attempt the ritual. Warriors, scholars, spiritual leaders, politicians who promised they were definitely worthy this time. All have failed. The Keystone remains immovable. Finch, who'd insisted on being present for the call, practically vibrated with excitement. This confirms the legend. The progenitors built a lock that can only be opened by someone meeting specific criteria. But what criteria? Physical strength, mental equity, moral character. The anthropological implications are staggering. The implications are that the Council doesn't want humanity getting their hands on ancient superweapons, Vera translated. No offense, Ambassador, but your track record with us newer species isn't exactly stellar. You've been keeping this secret while trying to figure it out yourselves. Quelix pulsed in a pattern the translator rendered as a diplomatic cough. The Council operates in the best interests of all member species. However, given your crew's discovery and the legal complexities of the salvage claim, we propose a compromise. Your crew may attempt the worthiness trial. If you succeed, we negotiate compensation and proper handling protocols. If you fail, you acknowledge Council jurisdiction and accept a finder's fee for your troubles. Vera did the math. A finder's fee would barely cover fuel costs and would unput a dent in her ship's mounting repair bills. But if someone on her crew actually lifted the hammer, she'd have leverage to negotiate a real payday. Deal, she said. But we do this officially, witnessed, recorded, legally binding. I want documentation that we tried first, and whatever happens next is on the record. Acceptable, Quelix agreed. The Council champions will arrive within the hour. Your crew may attempt the trial immediately afterward. May the worthy prevail. The transmission ended. Grix's antennae were twitching so fast they were basically vibrating. Captain, are we really doing this? Attempting to lift an ancient weapon of mass destruction that might explode or curse us or turn us into ancient weapons of mass destruction ourselves? Probably not, Bear admitted. But on the off chance one of us is mysteriously worthy, I'd rather find out while we've got legal standing. Besides, how dangerous can a hammer be? Thum rumbled thoughtfully. Very. Thanks for the confidence, buddy. Within the hour, the temple was crawling with Council officials, recording equipment, and enough bureaucratic oversight to make a tax audit look casual. The Council's champions began arriving, each more impressive than the last. Vera recognized species from across the galaxy, all of them representing the pinnacle of their civilizations. This was either going to be very profitable or very, very embarrassing. Probably bot. The first champion to attempt the trial was Warlord Crutch of the Vraxian Dominion. And he was exactly what you'd expect from someone named Warlord Crutch. 8 arms rippling with muscle. Exoskeleton covered in battle scars. 4 eyes that gleamed with the confidence of someone who'd never met a problem that couldn't be solved by hitting it repeatedly. He approached the hammer like it owed him money. Behold, Crutch announced in a voice that could strip paint, as I claim the keystone through a superior Vraxian might. Our species has conquered 17 star systems through strength alone. This relic will acknowledge our worthiness. He grabbed the hammer with all 8 hands. He pulled. He strained. His exoskeleton creaked ominously. Something in his back made a popping sound that echoed through the chamber. Medic, Crutch wheezed, releasing the hammer and collapsing in a heap of embarrassed Warlord. I require a medic, and also for everyone to forget what they just saw. Recorded for posterity, Quelix announced cheerfully. Next, champion, please. The Luminous Collective came next. A hive mind of energy beings that shimmered like living starlight. They had no physical form, existing as pure consciousness that had ascended beyond the limitations of matter. They surrounded the hammer, pulsing with what Vera assumed was deep concentration. We are the Luminous Collective, they announced in perfect harmony, their voices creating strange harmonics in the air. We have existed for 10,000 years. We have meditated on the nature of existence itself. We have achieved enlightenment across 73 different philosophical frameworks. Surely, we are worthy. They focused their energy on the hammer. Nothing happened. They tried a different approach, weaving complex patterns of light around the pedestal. Still nothing. Perhaps the progenitors valued humility over enlightenment. One of the Council observers suggested. The Luminous Collective dimmed with what might have been embarrassment, or perhaps they didn't have a framework for incorporeal beings. We shall meditate on this failure for the next century. They floated away, still harmonizing in what sounded like disappointed minor keys. Next came Master Serenity Nullthings, a monk from the Contemplative Order of Dalmora. He was a wispy, ethereal being who moved like he was perpetually underwater. He approached the hammer with the kind of slow, deliberate movements that suggested either deep spiritual practice or severe joint problems. He sat before the pedestal. He closed his eyes. 30 minutes passed. An hour. Vera ate a sandwich. 2 hours. Grix fell asleep standing up. 3 hours. Is he doing anything? Quelix whispered. Master Serenity own things. Opened one eye. I was napping. The floor is surprisingly comfortable. Also, I tried lifting it telepathically after the first 5 minutes, and it didn't work, so I figured I'd just enjoy the quiet time. He stood, stretched, and wandered off. Thanks for the meditation break, though. Very restful. The parade of failures continued. A champion who tried singing to the hammer in 17 different frequencies. A warrior who performed an elaborate ritual dance that looked like someone having a fight with invisible bees. A scholar who spent 45 minutes explaining why she should be worthy based on her academic credentials before actually trying and failing immediately. Then Finch stepped forward. "Oh no," Vera muttered. "Captain, I believe my extensive knowledge of progenitor culture, combined with my academic achievements and natural human ingenuity, makes me an ideal candidate," Finch announced. He'd actually brought his diploma. He'd brought his diploma to an ancient alien temple. "Professor, maybe just try lifting it without the speech," Quellic suggested, pulsing in a way that suggested everyone was very tired. Finch approached the hammer with the confidence of someone who'd never experienced real failure. He placed his hand on the handle, adopted what he probably thought was a heroic pose, and pulled. Nothing. He adjusted his grip and tried again. Nothing. He tried with both hands. Still nothing. "Perhaps if I apply leverage, using the principles of Finch began." "It's not moving," Professor Vera said gently. "You can stop." No. Finch stepped back, looking like someone had just told him his doctorate was actually from a correspondence school. "But I've published 17 papers on progenitor culture. I've dedicated my life to understanding ancient civilizations. I have 3 advanced degrees." "The hammer doesn't care about your resume," Vera said. "Also, you have moon dust on your diploma." Yvonne Grix tried, mostly because everyone was taking turns, and peer pressure is a powerful force even among spacefaring species. His 6 legs scrambled for purchase as he tugged with all 4 arms. The hammer didn't acknowledge his existence. Thum didn't even bother approaching. He simply pointed at the hammer, said no, and leaned against a wall to wait for this whole embarrassing situation to end. Quelix floated to the center of the chamber, pulsing with official resignation. "We have now witnessed 47 attempts by champions representing every major species in the Council, plus associated crew members. The keystone remains immovable. Captain Knox, as the salvage claim holder. You have the right to make a final attempt before we proceed to alternative containment strategies." "Alternative containment strategies?" Vera asked. "We blow up the moon," Quelix said flatly. "It's very permanent and solves most problems." "That seems excessive. We're bureaucrats. Excessive is what we do." Vera looked at the hammer. She'd been watching everyone fail for the past 3 hours while working her way through her emergency ration stash. Honestly, she'd rather just take the finder's fee and leave. Mystical worthiness trials weren't really her thing. She was more of a show-up, do the job, get paid, avoid dying kind of captain. But something about Quellix's casual suggestion to destroy the entire archaeological site annoyed her. Also, she was out of snacks and getting cranky. "Fine," she said, standing up and brushing sandwich crumbs off her jacket. "Let's get this over with." "Thum, if I get vaporized by an ancient booby trap, your captain and Grix gets my coffee mug." "Appreciate it," Thum rumbled. Vera walked up to the pedestal while 47 different species watched with expressions ranging from bored to hopeful to "Please let something interesting happen because I've been standing here for 3 hours." She grabbed the hammer and lifted it like she was picking up a regular Tuesday. The chamber erupted in chaos. Alarms that hadn't worked in 15,000 years suddenly decided to start working. The walls lit up with symbols that pulsed in time with what sounded like an ancient PA system having a panic attack. The floor beneath the pedestal began to glow with light that was probably either very good or very bad. "Put it back! Put it back! Put it back!" Grix chanted, his antennæ practically tied in knots. "I don't think I can," Vera said, staring at the hammer in her hand. It felt like a normal hammer, decent weight, good grip. "You could build a shelf with this. It's just, a hammer." Quelix was pulsing through colors that didn't have names in any language Vera spoke. Impossible. 47 champions. Centuries of attempts. You just picked it up like it was nothing. I mean, it is kind of nothing. Vera pointed out, giving it an experimental swing. It's not even that heavy. Are you guys sure? You were trying? I threw out my back. Cratch moaned from where he was still receiving medical attention. The ancient PA system resolved into something resembling actual sound. A holographic projection materialized above the pedestal, forming the image of a figure that looked remarkably human. Not exactly human, but close enough to be deeply unsettling to everyone present who wasn't human. "Greetings, descendant," the hologram said in a language that was definitely not ancient anything. It was English, regular, contemporary. "Someone recorded this last Tuesday, English. If you're seeing this message, you've successfully activated the Keystone of Dominion. Congratulations on having the right DNA. Did that ancient precursor race just speak in a language that didn't exist until 3,000 years ago?" Finch asked weakly. The hologram continued, oblivious to the existential crisis it was causing. "My name is Dr. Sarachun, and I'm part of the Progenitor Project. That's what we call ourselves anyway. The name's a bit pretentious, but we thought it sounded cool. Here's the situation. We're human. You're human. Humans are apparently really good at spreading across the galaxy." "No," Quelix pulsed. "No. No. No. The progenitors are an ancient race of mythical beings who seeded civilization across the cosmos. They're not just humans who decided to take a really long trip. We started from Earth approximately 17,000 years ago," Dr. Chun's recording explained. "We developed faster-than-light travel, found the galaxy full of younger civilizations, and decided to leave care packages for our descendants. Think of it like a really elaborate time capsule mixed with a genetic inheritance plan. We seeded suitable worlds with human-compatible colonies, built secure facilities, and created the Keystone Network as a species-specific master key." Vera looked at the hammer. "This is a key. It's a biometric security system." The hologram said cheerfully, "The Keystone only responds to human DNA. Anyone else who tries to lift it, it stays locked. But put a human's hands on it, and boom, instant access to the entire progenitor network. There are research stations, technology archives, defensive platforms, manufacturing facilities, and a really nice vacation spot on Kepler 442b. The beaches are incredible. Defensive platforms," Quelix asked in a tone that suggested internal screaming. A galactic map materialized in the air, showing thousands of points of light scattered across known space, each one pulsed with the same rhythm as the keystone in Vera's hand. "All facilities are now online and registered to the current keystone bearer. That's you, lucky winner. You've got administrative access to the most sophisticated defensive network in the galaxy. Our ancestors built it to protect humanity's future, also to mess with anyone who tried to claim our stuff without permission." The map zoomed in on several locations that Vera recognized as major council territories. Right there, in orbit around their most important worlds, were ancient satellites that had been sitting dormant for millennia. All of them were now showing active human authorization recognized in cheerful, glowing text. "Those are weapons platforms," one of the council observers whispered. "Ancient weapons platforms. In our space, pointing at our homeworlds." "More like defensive platforms," the hologram corrected. "But sure, they can also point at things if needed. Instructions for their operation are included in the Keystone's database. Good luck. Have fun. Try not to blow anything up accidentally. Oh, and one more thing." Dr. Chun's hologram leaned forward conspiratorially. "The whole worthiness thing, total mia. We just made it species-specific because we figured humans would eventually need a leg up in galactic politics. Turns out, ancient, mysterious precursor races get more respect than the new kids on the block. So we built the mystique into the system. You're not special because you're worthy. You're special because your ancestors were really good at long-term planning and also kind of trolls. Enjoy your inheritance." The hologram vanished. The chamber fell silent, except for the sound of 47 different species having synchronized existential crises. Vera looked at the hammer. looked at the map showing defensive platforms across the galaxy, looked at Quelix, who had cycled through every color in the visible spectrum and several that weren't. "So," Vera said slowly, "anyone want to discuss renegotiating a salvage claim?" Grix made a sound like someone had just divided by zero inside his brain. "Captain, do you understand what just happened? Humanity just inherited the galaxy's most powerful defensive network. We went from being a minor species to having ancient weapons pointed at every major council world. The political implications are catastrophic. Also, we're descendants of the progenitors," Finch added, still staring at his scanner like it might provide answers. "My entire academic career just became obsolete. Everything I've published about ancient precursor races was about humans. I've been studying us. We're the mysterious ancient civilization." Thum rumbled thoughtfully. "Good for us." "That's it?" Vera asked. "That's your take on this?" "Yes." Vera decided she liked Thum's approach. She turned to Quelix, who was still processing. "Ambassador, I'm thinking we need to have a serious conversation about humanity's seat on the Galactic Council. Also, trade agreements. Also maybe an apology for the past few centuries of treating us like backwater hicks. You're blackmailing the Council," Quelix pulsed weakly. "I'm negotiating from a position of strength," Vera corrected. "Big difference. You guys kept the Keystone secret because you wanted to claim it first. Well, turns out it was human inheritance all along. And now we've got the keys to the galaxy's best security system. So let's talk about how we move forward as equal partners instead of you trying to blow up this moon." The next 6 hours were the most excruciating diplomatic negotiation Vera had ever experienced, and she once spent 4 days arguing with a Tellurian customs officer about the proper import tariff for exotic cheeses. Ambassador Quelix had called in reinforcements from the Council's diplomatic corps, which meant the temple chamber was now filled with representatives from every major species, all of them pulsing, chittering, or emanating various forms of bureaucratic distress. Proposal 7043 droned a council scribe who'd been reading legal documents for the past hour. The human species agrees to surrender administrative access to the progenitor network in exchange for a preferred trade status, 3 seats on the council, and a formal apology written in 17 languages. Vera was sitting on the floor eating military rations she'd found in one of the progenitor supply caches. Apparently, her ancestors had excellent taste in preserved food. Counterproposal. "No. Next, Captain Knox. You must understand the Council's position," Quelix said, trying for diplomatic patience and landing somewhere around barely contained panic. "The sudden emergence of a species with control over ancient defensive platforms creates an unprecedented power imbalance. We need assurances that humanity won't abuse this technology. Like how the Council definitely wouldn't have abused it if you'd managed to lift the hammer first," Vera asked. The silence that followed was deafening. "That's different," Quelix pulsed weakly. "The Council operates for the benefit of all species." "Sure you do," Vera said. She stood, still holding the hammer, because putting it down felt like a bad tactical choice. "Look, I'm just a salvage captain. I didn't ask to inherit an ancient defensive network. I definitely didn't ask to become humanity's accidental ambassador to galactic politics. But here, where we are. And I am not giving this up just because you re-scared of humans having a seat at the adults' table." "We're not scared," a council representative insisted. "We're concerned about stability. You're terrified that humans aren't going to play by your rules anymore," Vera translated, which, fair, because we probably won't. She walked over to one of the temple walls where a control interface had materialized. The Keystone's database had helpfully provided instructions in her head the moment she picked it up. It was like having the galaxy's most powerful user manual downloaded directly into her brain. Invasive, but convenient. "Here's what's going to happen," Vera said, tapping the interface. The galactic map reappeared, showing all the active defensive platforms. Humanity gets a permanent seat on the Galactic Council with full voting rights. We get fair trade agreements that don't exploit newer species. The Council stops treating humans like we're on probationary membership, and in exchange, We don't activate any of these platforms unless someone starts something we need to finish. That's not a negotiation, Quelix protested. That's an ultimatum. Welcome to human diplomacy, Vera said cheerfully. We learn from the best. You guys have been doing this to younger species for centuries. She tapped another control, and one of the platforms near a council homeworld powered up with a very visible energy signature. Nothing threatening. Just a gentle reminder that yes, these things actually worked. Every council representative in the chamber immediately began speaking at once. The translator tried valiantly to keep up, and eventually gave up, just providing a helpful message that read, "General panic in multiple languages." That was a warning shot, Vera explained. Or a warning power-up. Technically, I haven't actually figured out how to fire these things yet, and I'd really rather not start an intergalactic incident on my first day as Keystone Bearer. But the option is there, and you all know it. Quelix pulsed through several colors before settling on resignation gray. You're serious about this? Completely. Humanity has been a spacefaring species for less than 2 centuries. You have no experience with galactic governance. You still have wars on your homeworld. Your species considers cheese a major food group. And yet, here I am, holding the most powerful key in the galaxy while you retrying to figure out how to stop me, Vera pointed out. Maybe experience isn't everything. Maybe humans are good at figuring things out as we go. We're adaptable like that. Finch, who'd been frantically documenting everything, looked up from his scanner. Captain, are you sure about this? We're talking about fundamentally altering the balance of power in galactic politics. The historical precedents for this kind of sudden shift are concerning at best. Professor, your entire career was built on studying mysterious ancient precursors who turned out to be us, Vera said. I think we're past worrying about historical precedent. Grix's antennae were drooping with stress. Captain, I've been running calculations on the insurance premiums for being a species with ancient weapons, and the numbers are terrifying. Also, I think I'm having an anxiety attack. Can Vraxians have anxiety attacks? I'm having something. Breathe, Grix Vera said, or do whatever your species does, instead of breathing. You're going to be fine. Thum rumbled from his position against the wall. She will not break things. Probably. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Buddy Quelix floated forward, pulsing with what the translator interpreted as reluctant acceptance. The council needs time to deliberate. This is unprecedented. We need to consult with our homeworlds, run political calculations, and determine the optimal path forward. You have 12 hours, Vera said. After that, I'm taking the Keystone back to Earth and letting our government figure out what to do with it. And trust me, our politicians are way less reasonable than I am. That got their attention. The prospect of human politicians with access to ancient superweapons apparently trumped all other concerns. Quelix pulsed agreement so fast it looked like a strobe light. 12 hours. The ambassador agreed. We'll provide a formal response by then. In the meantime, please don't activate any more platforms. Deal, Vera said. Can we get some decent food in here? The progenitor rations are good, but I could really go for something that wasn't packaged 15,000 years ago. Astakunsil. Representatives rushed off to have urgent diplomatic conversations. Vera sat back down with a hammer across her lap. Grix scuttled over, antennae still twitching with stress. Captain, what did we just do? Changed the galaxy, Vera said. Or possibly started a major incident that will end with us being banned from every civilized world. Could go either way. That's not reassuring. Welcome to humanity. Grix. We make it up as we go. 3 weeks later, Vera Knox stood on the bridge of her ship, watching Earth grow larger on the view screen, and wondered if she could just go back to being a simple salvage captain. The answer, according to the 17 diplomatic messages waiting in her inbox, was absolutely not. Captain, we're being hailed by Earth Defense. Galactic Council Liaison Office, 3 news networks, and someone claiming to represent the official Keystone Bearer fan club, her first officer reported. Also, Professor Finch has published his 18th paper and wants your approval on using quotes from the temple incident. Tell Earth Defense, we'll land in 30 minutes. Tell the Council we're off duty. Tell the news networks no comment. Tell the fan club. I'm flattered but concerned. And tell Finch he is not allowed to quote me saying it as just a hammer in his abstract. Acknowledged. Vera looked down at the hammer, which was currently propped in the corner of the bridge next to the coffee maker. Over the past 3 weeks, it had proven surprisingly useful for mundane tasks. She'd fixed a loose deck plate, hammered in a stubborn connector, and even used it to open a particularly difficult jar of pickles. The fact that it was also the master key to humanity's new position as a major galactic power was almost secondary. The Council had eventually agreed to Vieira's terms. Though it took them the full 12 hours plus several extensions to accept reality, humanity now had a permanent council seat. Trade agreements were being renegotiated across the board, and most importantly, the Council had stopped treating humans like the new kids who needed to prove themselves. Turned out having ancient weapons platforms pointing at everyone's homeworlds was an excellent diplomatic argument. This is insane, Greeks muttered, reviewing the latest news feeds. Humanity's gone from minor species to major power in 3 weeks. The political science textbooks are going to have entire chapters about this. Entire chapters about us. I'm going to be in textbooks. I'm having another anxiety attack. You're always having an anxiety attack, Vera said fondly. It's basically your default state. That's not helping. Finch was absorbed in his scanner, reviewing data from the progenitor network. He'd spent the past 3 weeks in a state of academic euphoria mixed with existential horror. This is absolutely fascinating. The progenitors left detailed records of their colonization efforts. They identified suitable worlds, seeded them with human populations, and then just left. Let evolution and civilization development take its course. We're descendants of multiple colony waves over thousands of years. So Earth isn't even the original homeworld? Vera asked. It might be. Or it might not. The records are incomplete. Probably deliberately. The progenitors seem to enjoy maintaining mysteries. Finch looked up from his scanner with the expression of someone whose worldview had been thoroughly scrambled. I've dedicated my career to studying ancient aliens, and it turns out we're the ancient aliens. That's gotta be good for your citation count, though. I've received 17,000 new citations in 3 weeks. My academic rivals are having breakdowns. It's the best thing that has ever happened to my career, and also I might need therapy. Thume remained his usual economical self. He'd spent the past 3 weeks piloting the ship, watching the diplomatic chaos unfold, and occasionally making observations that were profoundly unhelpful. His most recent contribution had been a single word when asked about humanity's future. Interesting. Earth's approach in 10 minutes, Thume announced. Many ships waiting. Very official. Vera could see them on the view screen. Earth's defense fleet had assembled what looked like a formal honor guard, which was excessive and also kind of touching. Her little salvage ship was about to get escorted in like she just won a war instead of accidentally picking up a hammer. You know what the weirdest part is? Vera said to no one in particular. I still don't feel worthy. I just feel like someone who got really lucky and now everyone's pretending I did something special. That is literally what happened, Grix pointed out. Thanks, Grix. Very helpful. I try. Her communicator chirped with yet another incoming call, this time from someone labeled Earth President's office. Vera stared at it for a moment, seriously considering just turning off her communicator and becoming a hermit on some uninhabited moon. She answered it anyway. A harried-looking woman appeared on screen, surrounded by what looked like the controlled chaos of a government in crisis mode. Captain Knox, this is Director Martinez from Earth's Galactic Relations Office. We need to brief you on the formal reception ceremony, your meeting with the President, and the 17 diplomatic functions we've scheduled for your first week back. How about none of those things? Vera suggested. Director Martinez blinked. I'm sorry. I'm a salvage captain, director. Not a diplomat. Not a celebrity. Not whoever you think I am. I found a hammer, Primera. Picked it up. That's it, Captain. You fundamentally altered humanity's position in galactic politics. You negotiated with the Council and won. You're a hero. I'm someone who got lucky, Vera corrected. And honestly, I'd like to keep doing my job without 17 diplomatic functions. Director Martinez looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Vera's expression must have convinced her otherwise. At least meet with the president. Just once. 15 minutes. We need to coordinate on how to handle the progenitor network going forward. Vera sighed. Fine. 15 minutes, but I'm keeping the hammer. We wouldn't dream of asking you to give it up. The call ended. Grix's antennae perked up slightly. That was almost reasonable of them. Give it time, Vera said. They'll figure out some way to make it complicated. The ship entered Earth's atmosphere with its honor guard escort. Vera watched the clouds part and the familiar continents come into view. 3 weeks ago, she'd left Earth as a nobody trying to make enough money to keep her ship running. Now she was coming back as the human who'd accidentally made humanity a major galactic power. Life was weird like that. Landing coordinates received, Thum reported. They want us at the main spaceport. Large crowd detected. Of course there's a crowd, Vera muttered. Grix, you're coming with me. Moral support. I'm going to have a panic attack in front of thousands of humans. You'll be fine. Just stay close and look official. I'm an insectoid engineer. I don't know how to look official. Fake it. That's what I'm doing. As they descended toward the landing pad, Vera could see the crowd Thum had mentioned. It looked like half of Earth's population had turned out to watch her arrive. Banners, cameras, news, drones, everywhere. It was her worst nightmare and also kind of flattering. The ship touched down with Thum's usual gentle precision. Vera stood, grabbed the hammer, and looked at her crew. Okay, we're about to walk into a media circus. Stay calm. Don't quote me for any papers. And if anyone asks about the hammer, just say it's a work in progress. It's a 15,000-year-old artifact that controls ancient defensive platforms, Finch said. Which is why we're calling it a work in progress, Vera replied. Ready? No, Grix said. Perfect. Let's go. The cargo ramp lowered, and Vera stepped out into the noise and chaos of Earth, welcoming home its accidental hero. Cameras flashed. People cheered. Someone had made signs that read Keystone Captain and Humanity Hammers, yeah. Director Martinez was waiting at the bottom of the ramp with what looked like half of Ethis government. Captain Knox, welcome home. Thanks, Vera said, trying not to squint at all the camera flashes. Can we do the president meeting now and skip the rest of this? Absolutely not, Martinez said with a smile. You're a symbol of humanity's new era. People need to see you. I'm really not good at being a symbol. You'll learn. As Vera was ushered toward a waiting transport, her communicator chirped one more time. She glanced at it and froze. The message was from the Galactic Council. Priority alert. Another progenitor site discovered. Artifact detected. Similar energy signature to Keystone. Request immediate human verification. Coordinates attached. Multiple species claiming salvage rights. Situation deteriorating rapidly. Vera stared at the message. Then at the crowd. Then at the hammer in her hand. You've got to be kidding me, she said. What's wrong? Martinez asked. They found another one. Another one? Another ancient human artifact just sitting around waiting to cause problems? Vera looked at the director. How do you feel about me skipping the diplomatic functions and going back into space immediately? The president will be disappointed. The president will understand when different species start fighting over who gets to lift the next mysterious hammer. Vera turned back to her ship. Grix Thum Finch Schweerleven. Again, we just got here. Grix protested weakly. And now, we're leaving. The galaxy needs someone to handle ancient human inheritance issues, and apparently that someone is us. Finch was already pulling up the coordinates on his scanner. This is fascinating. The progenitors really did scatter artifacts everywhere. It's like they wanted humanity to stumble into galactic power one archaeological site at a time. Or they were just really bad at keeping track of their stuff, Vera said. She looked at Director Martinez apologetically. Tell the president I'm sorry. Tell him I'll do the diplomatic thing later. Right now, I need to go stop an intergalactic incident. Martinez looked like she wanted to argue, then saw the determination in Vera's eyes and nodded. Go. We'll handle the crowd. Just try not to start any wars. No promises. Vera walked back up the cargo ramp with her crew following behind. The crowd was confused. The media was shouting questions, and somewhere a government official was probably having a breakdown about protocol violations. But none of that mattered because there was another ancient artifact out there, and if Vera had learned anything over the past 3 weeks, it was that leaving mysterious progenitor relics unattended was a recipe for disaster. As the ship lifted off, leaving Earth and its bureaucracy behind, Vera settled into her captain's chair with the hammer resting across her lap. Set course for those coordinates, she told Thum. Let's go see what our ancestors left behind this time. Could be anything, Thum rumbled. That's what worries me. Grix pulled up the sensor data. Captain, there are already 12 ships in orbit around that location. They're arguing over jurisdiction. This is going to be complicated. It's always complicated, Vera said. She looked at the hammer, which pulsed with faint light as if acknowledging her words. But that's humanity's whole thing now, right? We inherit ancient problems and figure them out as we go. That's a terrible strategy for galactic governance, Grix said. Yeah, Vera agreed with a smile. But it's our strategy. As they jumped to FTL, leaving Earth behind for the second time in 3 weeks, Vera reflected on how completely her life had changed. She'd gone from broke salvage captain to a keeper of ancient human legacy, from nobody to someone the entire galaxy was watching. And somehow, despite everything, she was still just winging it, which was very human of her. The hammer hummed quietly in her lap, connected to defensive platforms across the galaxy. Somewhere out there, another artifact was waiting. More inheritance from ancestors who apparently thought the best gift for their descendants was complicated galactic responsibility, mixed with ancient weaponry. Thanks, ancestors, Vera thought. Really appreciate it. But as she watched the stars streak past, she couldn't help feeling just a little bit proud. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy through strength or brilliance. They'd inherited it through sheer cosmic coincidence and a 15,000-year-old sense of humor. And now they were stuck, figuring out what to do with it, one mysterious hammer at a time.